So Ibanez recently released the Tim Henson nylon guitar, and I honestly believe this is a guitar that changes everything. So I know that sounds a little dramatic, especially for an artist signature series, but what I hope that you get out of this is my opinion of whether or not this guitar is worth your hard-earned money, or if it's just a marketing tool to say this is Tim Henson's guitar. For me personally, I did not order this online. I found it at my local guitar shop and picked it up, but I want to explain why. And there's also going to be some parts where you hear me play this, running it through my Axe 3 directly into my iPhone. And then hopefully it'll help you make a more informed decision of whether or not to pick up this guitar. So this guitar retails for $6.99. You can get the, not the Tim Henson version for, I believe it's like $400, and it doesn't have the Tree of Death. But at the end of the day, I think that this guitar is worth $6.99. Honestly, it blows my mind that it is $6.99. If Fender or Gibson, and I say this as my #1 guitar being Gibson, were to make this guitar, it'd probably be double that, if not more. I don't know how they're giving such a high quality instrument at that price, but it's worth it. The buckle. Also, the intonation can be off, and on my guitar you can actually see a little bit of the residue on the last fret, but these are just like, we're nitpicking, you know, this isn't, they don't affect the things on the guitar. This guitar was set up properly. Shout out to Musician Supply in Lexington, Columbia. They did a really good job with the setup before I got it. Acoustically, it's not the loudest guitar, but this guitar is not designed to be played acoustically. This is a guitar that's designed to be plugged into an amplifier and played through a system. It has a Fishman pickup in it with an Ibanez preamp. And the tuner on it is fairly accurate. The EQ on it is pretty good. You get 2 bands on it, so you can adjust your treble, you can adjust your bass, and there's also an in phase or out of phase switch. So there's a lot of sonic capabilities that you can get with it just out of the box. It's not, you know, you don't have the traditional hole here in the front, so if you're used to playing like a jazz box, you know that those guitars have a tendency of having a lot of feedback. If you're not playing through anything except for clean. On this guitar, I find that I can run it through distortion, I can do whatever, and I don't have to worry about feedback. The coolest thing about it for me is that I love the sound of a nylon instrument. I have a flamenco vintage guitar that was made in the 80s, but I just find that guitar is really hard to play. This is it feels like an electric guitar with a nylon sound. That's the best way to describe it. So the way that it's been sitting in my workflow is, one, it's allowing me to kind of write in a different way because the nylon strings just feel different underneath the hand, and the way that I approach chord voicings has shifted a little bit. But also, I find that it's just a fun guitar to practice on. It's easy to bring around. My wife has a residency as a doctor here in the United States, so sometimes she works crazy hours and I can't just play as loud as I want. This guitar is great because it's loud enough for me to practice without being loud enough to disturb her if she needs to get sleep. I don't know how Ibanez has figured out to give us a great guitar at $699, but I'm grateful they did. Again, the only downside to this guitar is that it's associated with Tim Henson, but if you're a Tim Henson fan, then that's probably a plus for you. If you're like me and you don't really care, you just like the guitar, everybody just associates it with him. That's like my only negative drawback to this instrument. I will say, if you're coming from steel strings like I am, I find that nylon strings are just a pain in the butt to get in tune whenever you change the strings on it. It's taken this guitar about a week with the new strings on to get stable, and I've been practicing with this guitar at least about an hour, if not an hour and a half every day. So that's about the break-in period for nylon strings. Also, the first time you change the strings on a nylon, it is a pain in the butt, but you can do it. Also, because you got to tie it out on the front too. That took me some time because I'm not used to playing, I'm not a classically trained guitarist, so nylon string was a little bit different. But anyways, that's a lot of talking. Let's hear what it sounds like. Alright, well, hey y'all, that concludes my, my thoughts on the Ibanez nylon. I really do enjoy the instrument. Hey, if you enjoyed the content and you're seeing this, please make sure to hit that like button and follow button. If you're interested in hearing some of my original music, check out the link here. If you want to see all the other things that I'm into, check the other side of the page. And thank you guys so much. I really appreciate all the feedback I've gotten on these videos, and I'm looking forward to make more content. See ya.